Howdy! In this video, I will describe the Worldview Reflections assignments. Please notice the Worldview Reflections tab on the left-hand side of the eCampus course. In this section of eCampus, you will find the instructions, prompts, and other useful information for the Worldview Reflections assignments. In this course, you will be asked to write 3 Worldview Reflection essays. A worldview is how you as an individual perceive and interpret the world around you. Everyone has a worldview, even if you're not aware of it. When you interpret a situation and assess your feelings and response to the situation, but you can't clearly or automatically explain why you feel that way without saying, "That's just the way the world works," you're expressing some element of your worldview. In many cases, you may not even be aware of your worldview. By stopping, reflecting, and writing your thoughts down, you will become more conscious of your worldview and possibly what caused you to form that worldview. In general, there are 3 broad categories of worldviews. From most inclusive to least inclusive, these are ecocentric, biocentric, and anthropocentric. As you watch this video, think about which broad worldviews you feel you align with. You will be asked to identify the broad worldviews you align with for specific prompts throughout a series of 3 essays. In general, the anthropocentric worldview has a human-centered or human-focused view of our relationship with the environment. Those with an anthropocentric worldview deny, overlook, minimize, or devalue the idea that organisms other than humans have intrinsic value. Anthropocentrics believe that humans are the most important species on the planet, that they rule the planet, and that the planet is here for their use only. They also evaluate costs and benefits of actions solely on the impact of these actions on just humans. To someone with an anthropocentric worldview, anything which does not provide a benefit to humans is considered negligible. For example, if there was a proposal to cut down a forest for farming, an anthropocentric would be in favor of this if converting the forested land would provide significant economic benefits while minimizing any risk to human health or aesthetics enjoyed by humans. An anthropocentric would oppose such a proposal if protecting the forest would provide an economic benefit or other benefits humans would enjoy. Biocentric and ecocentric worldviews take a broader view of the world compared to the anthropocentric worldview. For both bio and ecocentrics, all species are part of a living community, and as such, all species have intrinsic and inherent value. However, the difference is that ecocentrics take a much broader view of the earth. Ecocentrics believe that all of nature, not just living organisms, have intrinsic and inherent value. The biocentric worldview is the idea that the well-being of all life on planet is of greater importance than the well-being of all humans. However, the ecocentric worldview takes this idea even further and places intrinsic value on the organic and inorganic elements of the earth. Ecocentrics recognize Earth's living and non-living elements interact to create a functional system, and they seek to protect both the living and the non-living. Biocentrics tend to focus just on the living elements. Ecocentrics respect the value and worth of plants, water, soil, and air, and would fight to protect these from overexploitation or pollution. Ecocentrics are likely to promote preservation of biodiversity and environmental protection, whereas biocentrics would be strong supporters of animal rights. Here is a table for your reference that shows the stance each of the 3 major worldviews, anthropocentric, biocentric, and ecocentric, takes on a variety of issues related to the environment. Refer to this table as you write each of your worldview reflections. Please note that 2 of the 3 prompts for the 3rd worldview essay are not listed on this chart. This chart is also provided for you in the worldview section of eCampus. Finally, I'd like to leave you with some guidance for writing your worldview reflections. First and foremost, read the rubric, follow the instructions, and use the template. Read the entire prompt before you begin writing the reflection. Make sure to discuss all of the prompts listed in the instructions. Make sure you explicitly address each of the 3 prompts in your essay. Your success with this assignment will greatly increase if you use the template, read the rubric, follow the instructions, and heed the guidance I provide in the subsequent slides. Second, you should describe your worldview for each of the prompts listed. Again, following the template is key. Expound on what you think and believe about each of the prompts listed in the template. Third, now that you've described your worldview, make an explicit statement that indicates which of the 3 broad worldviews you feel you align with the best for each of the 3 prompts. If you are anthropocentric for all 3 prompts, then you need to write this statement out 3 different times, once for each prompt. Also, do not look at the chart in this presentation, and which is also listed on eCampus in the Worldview Reflection section, and just list your viewpoints on each box. This will not satisfy the requirements of this assignment. Make sure your explanation of your worldview aligns with the explicit statement. Some students have described a worldview that is anthropocentric, but then they say they were ecocentric. On a similar note, remember that everyone's worldview is an individual perception of the world. Do not be so bold as to say what worldview you think everyone should have. The question is, what is your worldview? You can share your worldview with others, but you cannot force your worldview onto anyone else. Fourth, in each essay, you must relate or incorporate the course key terms that are listed on the top of each template. This is an opportunity to demonstrate you can accurately use these terms in your writing. However, don't just drop a term into a sentence without providing context for that term. For example, the following would not be worthy of full credit. I know that things like ecosystems, endangered species, and biodiversity are important. Do you see how these terms are just put in a sentence with no indication the author knows how to use them appropriately? Rather, a better way of incorporating the terms would be, I learned about the value of biodiversity by living near a wooded area where there were hundreds of different species of birds, animals, and plants, all living together and supporting each other in a functional ecosystem. Unfortunately, in some regions of my home state, urban development has reduced habitat size and ultimately caused some species to be classified as endangered. Fifth, at the end of the essay, you must explain how you formed your worldview for each of the prompts. It is not unexpected that you may have the same explanation for the formation of your worldview for multiple prompts. That's okay. Just make sure it's clear you're explaining how you formed your worldview for every prompt. Examples of insufficient explanations I commonly see are, that's how I was raised, that's what my religion teaches me, or I am this way because of a class I took. All of these are insufficient. Students will often quote others or scriptures as well. All of these are a good start, but need to be built upon. Give a specific example that communicates why you have that worldview. For example, I value all life because my parents taught me to respect and protect animals. We would adopt stray dogs and cats, and when we gardened, my mom explained the value each bug played in the overall ecosystem that was our garden. That would be an example of a very specific reflection on why someone has the worldview that they do. If you quote something, explain why this quote speaks to you and how it influenced your worldview. If you cannot identify a distinct experience that formed your worldview, reflect on the elements of your culture, education, and other influential elements of your life that shaped your worldview. For example, I can't precisely pinpoint when I developed my worldview for the role of nature, but I do know that the culture I was raised in the Deep South greatly influenced the way I see the role of nature, because agriculture is a huge component of life in the South. The time I spent in my grandparents' corn and cotton fields instilled in me a great respect for nature, because I realized that without healthy soils and fresh water, there would be no crops to grow and thus no income to earn. Sixth, keep in mind there will be 3 worldview reflections due throughout the semester. Each reflection is an individual endeavor. You should take some time to think about each prompt in each essay and craft your response. This is not an assignment to rush together and complete. It's designed to have you go through a self-reflection process, identifying what is core to you, what you believe, why you believe it, and how it influences your actions. Seventh, all worldview essays will be submitted and graded via Peerceptive. This is an online, double-blind, peer grading system that is calibrated by my grading. You will be responsible for A, submitting your original work, B, using a rubric to grade your peers' work, and C, back evaluating the quality of the comments that you receive from your peer reviewers. Grades are assigned as 20% for completing these tasks, with up to 9% extra credit available for completing an additional 3 reviews, 40% for your writing, which is based on your peer reviews but is also benchmarked graded by myself, and 40% is based on the accuracy and quality of your reviews, i.e., how well you follow the grading rubric and how closely the scores that you assign align with those of the other reviewers, as well as the quality of your peer review comment feedback. Peerceptive is an engaging tool that promotes learning and critical thinking through writing. Research has shown that peer assessments using Peerceptive are more reliable and just as valid as assessments provided by an expert instructor, engaging students on the giving side of the formative feedback loop. In the role of the teacher makes assessment part of the learning process itself. Essentially, your learning will be further enhanced as you provide feedback to your peers. Additionally, peer review is a key component of the adult workforce, regardless of your field. Practicing the skill now will better prepare you to give and receive constructive criticism. Additionally, using Peerceptive will allow you to learn about other people's worldviews, which is a critical component of developing as an intellectual thinker. Recognizing and learning what other people think will allow you to think more critically about the world you live in and recognize the diversity inherent in our society and world. If we all understood each other a little bit better, we could make better decisions for our society as a whole. Eighth, I want to stress that following the template is required. Following the template and reading the rubric will be the best way to meet the requirements for this assignment. It is entirely possible to write an excellent essay within 2 to 3 pages. Do not go on to 7 pages. I am aware of your and my time constraints. I do not want or expect a 7-page essay because this is not an efficient use of your time. If you have any questions about the assignment, email me or come by my office hours. Thanks and gig 'em.